Today we're going to start from scratch a Unity project called Labyrinth. In this video we are going to create the project's folders, import some files and create this scene that is shown on the screen. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is create a new project. We write a name, select the 3D template and choose the location. If you want, you can deactivate Unity Analytics. It'll be not necessary at the moment. The layout of the software is quite flexible. We can change the distribution of the windows, resize and separate them. This version of Unity automatically generates a scene called sample scene. Let's create a new one by clicking on File and Save Scene As. We give the file a name and place it inside the Scenes folder. Let's delete the previous scene. Unity tells you that this action cannot be undone. If you eliminate something important, you can go to the recycle bin and restore the deleted files, but be careful. Now let's create some folders to keep our project's files in order. The root folder is called Assets. Right-click here, Create New Folder. The folders we are going to create are models, textures, audio, scripts and external packages. We are going to import some useful packages. First of all, some elements of the standard assets. Right-click, Import Package, Characters. From here, we are going to use a prefab that will allow us to quickly set up a first-person controller. Let's import now the particle systems. Right-click, Import Package, Particle Systems. We can use some interesting effects from here in our game. We will also import a utility package, which has some useful tools such as a frame per second indicator. Now we are going to import two packages from the asset store. You are gonna need a Unity account. If you don't own one, you can skip this step. It's for the aesthetics of the game. If you can't see the asset store window, you can always open it from the Window tab or with the shortcut Ctrl+9. In the search bar, we type Skybox and look for the free package from Cloud. With this package, we can give our game a more interesting heaven. Click in Download, then Import. Let's import a bloom effect. In particular, there's a package called Mobile Bloom from Become a Little Girl that is free. Let's add it to our project. I'm going to place the imported packages in the external packages folder to keep them in order and know who they belong to. However, in doing so, a problem with the standard asset package suddenly appeared. It'll be discussed later. For now, let's start working on the scene. I'm going to create one more folder and call it prefabs. The middle panel on the left is called the hierarchy, and here you will find the objects of the world. I'm going to start by removing the default camera. To create a new object, right-click, 3D object, plane, a flat surface to use as the floor. Using the wheel and mouse buttons, we can change the view to work more comfortably. Now I'm going to create a cube and give it a position on the scene. I make a cylinder and give it a different position. Press Ctrl D to duplicate the selected object. Notice how new objects appear in the hierarchy. When I select the cube, the two cylinders are also selected. This is because in the hierarchy, the cylinders are children of the cube, and therefore their position in the world will be relative to the parent, in this case, the cube. We can break that relationship by taking both cylinders in the hierarchy and dragging them out of the cube. Now they are at the same level. Let's create another cylinder to better understand the parent-child relationship. Select the cube in the hierarchy, right-click, 3D object, cylinder. We see that it appears slightly more to the right, and the cube is now shown with a button to expand and collapse the contents. When I click on the cube, both the cube and the cylinder are selected. If I move the cube in space, the cylinder will move too. However, I can select the cylinder and move it independently of the cube. This also applies to other transformation parameters such as rotation and scaling. Here, I double the scale of the cube, but we see that the cylinder also doubles its size. Let's create some materials to give a little bit of color to the scene. Inside the Assets folder, right-click, Create, Material. And in this way, I can create materials to apply to the floor and the objects. When I select a material, I can modify its properties from the Inspector panel, which is usually located on the right. I can choose the color of the material, modify its behavior in presence of light sources, add textures, and more. For now, we are just going to change the color and smoothness of the surface. To apply a material, drag it to the object. Let's play around a little bit with light. At the top left, we see a panel with the basic control tools: Move, Rotate, Scale, among others. These tools can be accessed quickly with Q, W, E, R, and T. In this case, we have a directional light source, which is an ideal source that is infinitely far away. In simple terms, this light source is used, for example, to simulate the sun. The only transformation parameter that needs to be changed is the rotation of the light source. The scale and the position do not change anything. We adjust the angle of the light. I'm also going to scale the ground a little bit to have larger area to move around. And now I'm going to make a small ladder just using the primitives we have seen so far. I start by placing a cube in the space. Press W to move it to the desired position. And R to give it the right size. Apply a material. Now I'm going to duplicate it with Ctrl D and move it with W. With Shift or Ctrl, I select the previous step, and now Ctrl D to duplicate the two steps. I repeat this action one more time. I'm also going to duplicate one of the cylinders. We see that several objects have appeared in the hierarchy. To maintain order, we can group certain objects together, and of course give them meaningful names so that we can easily identify them. Let's create an empty object. Give it the name scenario. Select all the objects that belongs to the scenario and drag them to this empty object. Now we can collapse it. We are going to put a standard asset prefab in the world. Go to the External Packages folder, Standard Assets, Characters, First Person Characters, Prefabs. Here I select the prefab FPS and drag it to the hierarchy. An object with a camera and speaker appears in the world. I'm going to click on play to test this scene. I come across this message that says that all bugs must be fixed before entering game mode. Go to the console, click on clear button to clear the yellow warnings. An error message appears in red, saying that a certain file cannot be found. After checking, I realized that the system is trying to access the standard assets folder in the assets root folder, which is not possible because I previously moved it to the external packages folder. To fix the problem, I moved the standard assets folder to the assets root folder. After doing this, the error disappeared. I click on play one more time. Now we can see how the character works. It has a classic first-person shooting game control. You can aim, jump, and run. We see that it interacts correctly with the objects on the scene. It even has the sound of footsteps, so it's an interesting starting point. We stop the simulation, and now we are going to create an executable game. Let's go to File and Build Settings. Click on Add Open Scenes to add the scene 1, and then click on Build and Run. Here I'm going to create a folder to keep our compilations in order. When the game finishes building, the game configuration window appears and it's ready to be run.